I hope you guys are doing well and are done with the paper preparation. Just last few key important points to keep in your mind whenever you are appearing in APM paper or maybe any other paper. The first and the most important thing in APM paper is to understand what is the requirement by the examiner, by the CEO probably, because this is something which students sometimes miss. Let me give you a very simple example of that. There's a this question has been taken by APM paper, so probably you guys have gone through it. But let's start with this. Initially, I'm just reading the relevant part. Initially, the CEO did not see why the four key areas originally given could not be used as CSF. So, this is basically the problem, right? So, this thing you should note down that this is the problem, and this thing probably needs some attention. He wants you now. From here, the examiner started his requirement. He wants you to provide justifications in the light of minister's concern. So there you have to look for some concern. There might be some problem in the question for the changes which the advisor has made to these. So this is basically something which you have to on which you have to debate in your paper, that something has been changed and you have to provide the justification. Now, what do you mean by justification? It means that you need to clear if something has been changed, you have to identify that change, and you have to you have to comment on that, whether that change is in the right direction or whether the change is wrong, whether the change is not justifiable. And if something has not been changed, you have to clearly mention it that nothing has been changed. It's almost same as the previous CSF was. So this is basically what you have to do. This is the first requirement. So you have to keep this thing in your mind. You may write this somewhere else while attempting the paper. You may write that you have to, first thing which you have to do is to provide justification, right? What is the next thing which you have to do? Then, using the above CSF, he wants you to provide justified recommendations of up to 2 KPIs per CSF in order to measure performance. Now, this is something which he wants next thing to be done in your report. Justified recommendation. So, this is very important. Justification, this is something which we'll discuss later as well. Suppose if this statement is not given here, suppose examiner just said that he wants you to provide recommendations, still you have to justify the recommendation, that why you think that this is important, why you think that this KPI is more relevant for the purpose, right? So this is the second thing, you have to provide the justification. And what you have to do here, provide the justification up to 2 KPIs per CSF. Now there is a limitation. You can, there are 4 CSF and you have to provide justification for each, you have to recommend 2 KPIs per CSF, maximum 2. Up to 2 means you can provide 1 KPI, you can provide 2 KPI per CSF, but you cannot provide 3 KPIs per CSF, right? So that is very important. In order to help you with KPI, the CEO has provided you with a table in appendix number 1, which has been used in the past when considering DP performance. However, you are allowed to suggest new data which would help measuring the performance. So this is also important, that sometimes students, I have also experienced this, I have seen students too, that they restrict themselves within appendix number 1. They say, okay, fine, these are 5 or 10 or 15 in types of information which is given in appendix number 1. So we have to suggest accordingly. No, if examiner is giving you this option, if examiner is giving you this autonomy to do that, that means there's something, there's a kind of clue which examiner is giving you, that look, you may have to use some other information based on your imagination, that what can be the other thing that can help the company, in providing the basic purpose, right? So this is important. The CEO made it clear that at this stage no calculation is required. Now, why examiner is mentioning this? See, examiner usually mention few things if he is experiencing those problems in past. So maybe there are few times when his examiner is seeing students to do unnecessary calculations in such requirements. So that's why examiner is saying that, hey, don't do that, don't do this stuff at this part of the question, right? So try to keep these things in your mind whenever you are writing your paper, right? There's one more example with the same question. I would like to read it and then tell you what is the basic concept of identifying the requirements. Since DP is funded wholly through deal and general taxation, the CEO wants, now another requirement, the CEO wants to be able to report on whether DP is providing value for money service as required by the new mission statement. He has heard that three E's, but needs an explanation. So this is the first thing which you have to do. You have to explain what are the three E's. And this is the first one, right? This was the first one. Second one is what? And how this links to the to work on CSF and KPI already requested. So this is the second requirement which examiner wants you to do. Then there's one more thing. He require an evaluation using the data given in appendix number 1 of whether DP provides such service. So now this is the third requirement too. So there are three different things which you have to do, right? He understands that evaluation may be limited as appendix number 1 may not give data to perform a full value for money exercise. So if you are not getting any data which is in appendix number 1, you don't have to worry about that, because you may not be able to find it out because not whole picture is given in here. So this is the first thing which you guys must understand, that you have to address all the key areas required by the examiner, right? And I will give you some more clues in the next video, some more tips in the next video, so stay tuned.